Good morning and welcome. My name is Pam Wasserstein, and I'm chair of the Spaceworks board. Today's ribbon cutting marks a wonderful milestone for Spaceworks. On behalf of the board of directors, I'm so pleased that you all could join us. No one understands how critical it is for New York City to remain the creative capital of the world better than Mayor Bloomberg. I'm certain that the mayor's steadfast, innovative commitment to our creators and artists will be an enduring piece of his great legacy. Mayor Bloomberg's visionary leadership has helped the city's cultural community to flourish. His essential support of Spaceworks and its mission to create affordable workspace for artists throughout the city continues this tradition. We are thrilled that he is here to celebrate this first project. It is my great pleasure to introduce Mayor Bloomberg.
Thank you, Pam. I liked the thrilled comment, and I was looking to see whether you looked thrilled. You get sort of a B minus or something. You could have jumped up and down, thrilled. Nobody's ever said they were thrilled to meet me before, particularly my daughters, but that's a whole other issue. Anyways, I want to thank Dina Dennis and the dancers of Dance into Light, which we just saw, and the musicians of Thing NY for giving us a chance to watch their rehearsals. I had a few piano lessons. I was telling some of them myself, where my sister was taking piano lessons. It looked great. The teacher, you had to commit for a year, and I wanted to do it. My parents didn't have a lot of money, but I made a fuss, so finally they said, okay, but if you start, you have to finish the whole year. So I said, okay, I made that firm commitment, which was about as good as my commitment to if we got the dog, I would feed it every day. Happened once. But I went the first day, and it was great. And then the second day, there was something which I'd never heard of before. It was called practice. Hated it for the rest of the year. I am not a musician. I actually thought about sitting in with Thing NY, but they said it would be an even bigger honor if I did not. So I let them. But I would have made them all look good, you know. Yeah. Somebody has to set the curve. And my academic record is that I always made the top half of the class possible. And here I could have made all the dancers and musicians, no matter how bad or good they are, they would look great by comparison. We need to have somebody at the bottom. That's my job. Anyways, let me simply say that the launch of the pilot performing arts site for Spaceworks does fulfill a pledge that we made back in the 2012 State of the City. Spaceworks is a pioneering public-private partnership, as you all know, that we believe is the first initiative of its kind in any city in the nation. And here and in other venues across the city, it will give artists more access at more affordable prices to something that they really all need, and that's permanent rehearsal and studio space. And somebody showed me even the storage room, and I hadn't really thought about that. I said we could put a golf simulator in there, but no. Turns out that's where you store the case for the drums and for the all of the other instruments. Cultural Affairs Commissioner Kate Levin has studied how to meet this challenge with the help of others in our administration, and they included then now Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Sean Donovan, but then he was heading the city's Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development, and it also included former Economic Development Corporation President Seth Pinsky, who just left after doing great work and really making a very big difference in the city. He, along with Bob Steele, getting some of these big economic projects that will carry our city for decades to come. Things like the Cornell expansion with an engineering school here, which will create a lot of jobs, but also things, the big venues so that we can perform and attract people. And if you attract audiences, you attract artists. You have artists, you attract audiences. It's one of these cycles a virtuous cycle that you want to get into. And hopefully, as we leave office another 133 days, but who's counting? There will be an impetus here where more and more will come, and it will just take on a life of its own. All of our efforts led to a feasibility study funded by the Charles Revson Foundation and conducted by the real estate consulting firm, the Forsyth Street Advisors. As an independent nonprofit, Spaceworks will tap underutilized public and private facilities and transform them for cultural use. And in recent years, a growing number of cultural organizations have offered some very successful free or low-cost short-term artist residency programs for visual and performing arts on a rotating basis. Spaceworks, on the other hand, will develop permanent workspace at below market rates, and it'll rely on local arts and community organizations called program partners to reach out to artists and to provide services like professional development. Some Spaceworks sites like this one will be on private property, others will be in city-owned locations, and we'll follow up this pilot site for performing artists called Spaceworks LIC with a pilot site for visual arts in Brooklyn called Spaceworks Gowanus. And there there'll be more new and affordable studio and rehearsal space, and also in other communities in the coming months and years ahead. This program builds on our Department of Cultural Affairs' role in creating and improving cultural space throughout the city. In fact, under Commissioner Levin's leadership, we've created over 1 million square feet of such space in the past 4 years alone, and that includes such attractive new venues as the Demena Center for Classical Music, which boasts rehearsal space for the city's orchestras and chamber music ensembles, the Pershing Square Signature Center, which is a hub for theater development, and space to incubate dance at the Center for Performance Research in Williamsburg. And we also continue to support the short-term artist in residence programs that many cultural institutions provide. But because of the long wait lists, artists tell us that demand for studio and rehearsal space still far exceeds supply, because we understand just how important the contributions are that artists and cultural organizations make to our economy and the strength of our community, and also to New Yorkers. We always talk about all of these things being great to bring tourists here, but what about us? This is one of the reasons we live in New York. It is to have great cultural institutions and great sports institutions and jobs and hospitals and whatever for the people that live here. And in many senses, they are most of the people that use our facilities. We worked with a wide range of partners in public, private, and nonprofit worlds to design this initiative, because we're deeply committed to keeping New York City a center of the world's capital for artistic creativity. If you think about it this way, all across town we've set up business incubators where New York's commercial future is going to take shape, and in a similar way, Spaceworks will provide artists with cultural incubators, studio and rehearsal sites for their startup concepts, places where they can sharpen their talents, develop their ideas, and present them to the rest of us at venues around the city in ways that excite our imaginations and enrich our lives. And also to, even in the arts, just like in the commercial world, there are best practices, there are ideas. Just I never thought about that way of doing this. It's something new, and even if it isn't consciously trying to, you're not plagiarizing, it just gets you to think, and that's the whole idea of creativity. You reach a critical mass where people just don't repeat what they did before. They always come up with new ideas. We've also contributed to a creative sector by doing all this that has something like a $21 billion annual impact on our economy. So it really does make a big difference. In a few minutes, Spaceworks Executive Director Paul Parkhill will have more to say about the next steps in rolling out this initiative. Before then, however, I did want to acknowledge those who've been instrumental in helping Spaceworks become a reality. In addition to Pam and the Spaceworks board and the indispensable contributions of those I mentioned earlier, they also include our first Deputy Mayor, Patty Harris, and our Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Bob Steele, HPD Commissioner Matt Wambua, and another of his predecessors at that agency, Geraldine Perrine. There's Deutsche Bank, the David Rockefeller Fund, the Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City, the New York Community Trust, and the Art Place Granting Consortium, which was initiated by former National Endowment for the Arts Chairman Rocco Landsman, who's now back in our city. Their partnerships with us will help us ensure that Long Island City and other New York neighborhoods remain places where artists and performers can live, work, and enliven the community. And that's music to the ears of our, if you love the pun, didn't get a laugh, but that's okay. Music to our ears, it's not easy to write this stuff, I'm sure that's music to the ears of our next speaker, who represents Long Island City so well. And I'm going to throw up over here one more time, but it's his birthday, so please say happy birthday to Councilman Jimmy Van Bramer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for the introduction, the birthday wishes, and for everything that you've done for the City of New York. I do have to say, about half of the crowd in front of me was at my birthday party last night. So I appreciate the energy because a lot of folks who were there saw how well I danced, Mr. Mayor. It was a fun night, so thank you. And the other half who were not at the party next year will even be bigger. So you're all invited. I just want to say how exciting it is to be here today. I want to thank, obviously, the mayor for his leadership. First Deputy Mayor Patty Harris, who is an amazing, amazing champion of culture and the arts in the City of New York. She deserves a big round of applause. He's also a really big Met fan, which means a lot to me personally. Our Cultural Affairs Commissioner, Kate Levin, who 2 years ago came to me with this proposal, this idea. Obviously, I loved it, but I remember one of the things I said to the commissioner is that it has to be a 5-borough strategy, and it's got to involve Queens, and so thank you, Commissioner, for your vision, for your leadership, and also for ensuring that this is in fact a 5-borough plan. And how great is it that we start off in the greatest district in the City of New York. And because the mayor mentioned the Revson Foundation, and then I looked over and I saw Julie Sandorf in the audience, and I have to say, every time you see Julie Sandorf, something good is happening for the City of New York. Every single time, whether it's libraries and culturals or culturals on their own, she is a force to be reckoned with. The Revson Foundation has done so many good things when it comes to the cultural community, to libraries. So thank you, Julie Sandorf, in the back there. I see you. And Paul Parkhill and Pam Wasserstein, the entire board, thank you so much. I just want to say very quickly, there's so many artists in this crowd here, and you represent tens of thousands that are not here in this room. And there is no City of New York without all of you producing the art that you produce that comes from inside of you. And we are so much better for all of that, but it's really important that you be able to afford a space where you can produce that art, where Dina Dennis can practice, there she is right there, her routines, which are amazing, amazing, amazing. And it's so important that we do this. It's so important and so visionary that we have spaces where artists can afford to rehearse, to practice, to dream, to create, and then ultimately to really show this to the world. So this is a great beginning. I celebrate all of you as artists, as the cultural community that really drive the City of New York. And it starts here, right, in a studio. And then it grows to Topaz Arts in Woodside, and then it gets to Off-Broadway, and then it's on Broadway, and then you're on TV, and then you're rich. But the City of New York, and then the City of New York is even richer for it. So thank you all. You drive the City of New York. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Jimmy, thank you. And now let me turn things over to the man who's leading this pioneering initiative, Spaceworks Executive Director Paul Parkhill. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for coming to the inaugural event of Spaceworks. We hope this is the start of something big and long-lasting. Spaceworks was created as a nonprofit entity to develop, maintain, and manage long-term affordable workspace for artists. We've worked hard to be responsive to the different needs of different kinds of artists. Performing artists and visual artists have very different needs. Performing artists tend to work in groups and need space in increments of hours. Visual artists often work solo and need space for longer periods of time, for years at a time. Based on what we heard from artist focus groups and from talking to the cultural community, our goal is to make space for artists tailored to their specific needs. First of all, they need space that's affordable. Here at this pilot site in Long Island City, we're looking at spaces between $12 and $16 an hour, depending on the size of the studio. Second, they need to be accessible and secure. To make sure that happens, we're instituting a new reservation system. Starting today, performing artists can apply online for a Spaceworks card. Once they're approved, which should take a couple of weeks, they can purchase hourly rentals online using a credit card. When they do that, the Spaceworks card will function as a key, providing access to the reserve space during those rental times. This system will help keep access costs low and efficient. Applications for the Spaceworks card are online now, and the full reservation system will be operational in September, so we hope you all start looking at it today. Our pilot project for visual artists opens, as the mayor mentioned later, this month in Gowanus, Brooklyn, with a couple of 200 square foot visual art studios. These spaces were also developed based on feedback we got from artist focus groups, which we performed in the Bronx and in Brooklyn, as well as cultural leaders. In addition to affordable rates, visual artists want long-term access. So we're making our visual art studios available on a yearly basis, as well as allowing them to renew their leases. And after Labor Day, artists can go online and enter the Gowanus Visual Arts Studio Lottery. So again, we hope those visual artists in the crowd are taking a look at our website in a couple of weeks. Let me say one more thing about these and other upcoming projects. As the mayor indicated, New York City's been incredibly fortunate to have a lot of incredible artist residency programs that have sustained the creative sector over the years and continue to provide critical services. Spaceworks is a bit of a departure in as much as we're non-curatorial. To access our space, you have to prove that you're a practicing artist living in New York City. But as you'll see from our online application, you don't have to have your work juried. If your materials check out, you get the keys, or in our case, the key card. We're starting with these pilot sites, so this project and the one in Gowanus, to ensure that we take the time to learn on a relatively small scale, and then work with the creative community to enlarge the project and improve our model as we ramp up. And then after this phase, we're looking to develop 47 visual arts studios and 6 rehearsal spaces and sites on Governor's Island, as well as in the Brooklyn Public Library system. So we're working at the Red Hook and the Williamsburg branch public libraries. We hope to get started this fall. There are many people I'd like to mention who are really critical to this process and this organization. I think most of them have been mentioned already. The mayor, first and foremost, Deputy Mayor Harris, DCA Commissioner Levin, Councilman Van Bramer. Our funders, Julie Sandorf was mentioned already. I think I echo just how important she was to this concept early on. Carrie McCarthy from the New York Community Trust, Gary Haddam from the Deutsche Bank Americas Foundation, Marnie Pillsbury from the David Rockefeller Foundation, and Art Place America, which is a consortium of funders. I also want to sort of give a shout out to our Long Island City partners, Sheila Lewandowski from the Chocolate Factory Theater, David Sweeney from Healing Arts Initiative. I think this community knows them well, as well as our future partners, our board, our staff, and our guests. I also want to thank Dance into Light and Thing NY. You guys were fantastic. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank artists in general around the city who make the city so exciting and dynamic and give us the inspiration for the work that we're doing. Thank you so much.
Paul, thank you. Before we formally cut the ribbon on this space, let me just summarize today's announcement for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers. Estamos empezando una nueva iniciativa para proveer estudios y espacios de ensayo más económicos para artistas en nuestra ciudad. And with that, we are going to cut a ribbon. Is that correct? That is correct. Okay, we're going to do this for the press once. We'll do it on 3. We're starting at 0. And everybody wait. I'm surprised how many groups cannot follow that.